Hello, ladies and gents. This is Mike Headley on the Headley Group Real Estate Show. This is a podcast designed for real estate professionals who's thinking about getting a career in real estate or who's already been in the business. We'll learn some great tips and tricks from the professionals and the veterans. Continue to tune in. Hey, ladies and gents, we are back on the Headley Group Real Estate Show. Like I always say, we got a treat for you. We have an awesome one today. We never had someone on the show. We always had investors, real estate professionals, but we never had someone who quite like this young lady here who specializes in a unique part of real estate where she does a whole bunch of other areas that we are familiar with, but vacant land. She's an investor as well as a private lender, and she does a host of different things. We're going to dive into a great conversation with Jantzen Young down in Florida. How you doing, man?
Fabulous. Thank you for having me.
Oh, awesome. Well, one thing about our show, like I said, we keep it honest and we keep it real.
Yeah.
We was looking at different profiles, and someone from her team reached out and said, you know, she would like to be part of the show. We want to thank you for that. Yeah. And we've done some research in the team, and we've seen what she was doing. I was like, why do we have her before? Like, really, like, why did we not have her before? But thank you, and hopefully this could be a continued good business relationship where we can probably do some business in the future.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for being on the show.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here.
So Jantzen, tell us that we see you said multifamily, you do some private lending.
Yes.
As well as land. But before we dive into that, what sparked that edge? What made you say, let me get in real estate? I like this. That's what I need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think my story is a little different from a lot of other people in corporate. I mean, I spent 14 years in financial services, climbing the corporate ladder, doing all the right things. And even with my husband, you know, we both got out of college at about the same time. He went to one financial services firm and I went to another one.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
For him, you know, his career sort of stagnated at a certain point, and it didn't make a lot of sense as to why.
Okay.
So we did what everybody says to do, you know, go back and get more education. That will solve all of your problems, right? So we piled on about $60,000 worth of extra college debt for getting our MBAs. And it just didn't pan out the way we thought it should. And I was looking for something else, but what was interesting is that, you know, we were making close to combined, you know, maybe like $180,000 together with no kids. And we were broke, truly broke in Orlando, Florida. There's no reason for that. So beyond real estate, like we just had money issues, you know, it comes in and it goes right back out. And it wasn't until I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Kiyosaki.
Yes, Mr. Kiyosaki. He kind of opened up my eyes to there's a different way to live. You know, you don't have to spend every dime that you get.
Exactly.
And that was kind of the first little light bulb that went off. What actually got us into real estate though was I got pregnant, and I had an hour and 15 commute one way. My husband had a 45 commute the other way, and a 45-minute commute. And I was like, look, I'm not gonna have my baby on this highway, so we have to get another place. He ended up finding a job closer to me. So when we moved, we actually couldn't sell our home. So our real estate agent was like, well, why don't you just rent it? And I was like, I don't know about, you know, people all in my stuff. I don't know about how I feel about that. But it was the best experience we could have had. We had great tenants, kept up the property wonderful, paid down our mortgage for us. And we weren't turning a big profit that, you know, we didn't buy it right. We didn't know anything about that. But for me, I was like
everybody starting off, myself included.
Like everybody doing this. It's gonna be a real estate investor, you know?
Correct.
So we went to YouTube University. We were chugging every piece of knowledge we could find. YouTube said, go to Craigslist, there are deals. So we went to Craigslist. YouTube said, call wholesalers, they've got deals. So we called wholesalers. And I remember for the very first like investment property that we purchased, I was on the phone with this wholesaler off of Craigslist trying to buy this fourplex, and my husband's whispering at me. He's like, you don't know how to buy a fourplex. And I was like, hey, if he can help me through it, like we can figure this out. And you know, we had our hard money lender lined up, we had our down payment lined up, And 2 days before closing, the lender backed out.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something about that deal. Was
Yeah.
there due diligence money, earnest money involved that got lost? Or
$5,000.
how much?
5,000. Yeah. And so I went back to the wholesaler with my tail between my legs, and I was, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. And what was interesting is he had every right to be like, we're gonna blacklist you. This is a small investor community. I'm gonna take your money. And all he said was, Jantzen, what's wrong? How can I help you?
Okay.
And I was just floored by how kind he was. I explained what happened to my lender. He's like, don't worry about it. He hung up the phone. An hour later, my title company called me and said, you're funded.
Wow.
This day, I don't know. I know the person's name because I wrote a check to him every month, but I've never met this lender. I don't know who he is or where he is. But since then, I have not gone back to a bank to acquire any properties.
Really?
And I've used multiple private lenders, not just him. In fact, when we bought our second property, we moved up to a 5-plex after that one. He was offended that I didn't come to him for the money first.
Okay.
So we don't use banks anymore unless we're refinancing out. And it's just been a wonderful ride since then.
Mm-hmm. So let's dive into that. Okay. Someone of you is watching this and all they know is traditional, right? They go to some kind of financial institution. Paint that picture. And again, everybody's financial situation is different. Paint that picture to the audience of what's required, what's needed, certain credit score, certain net income ratio. Do they look at that, or you got to have a certain amount of so much collateral? What does that look like to be able to use a hard money private lender? And what is that interest for them? I'm quite sure it is not as cheap as a traditional bank. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So hard money and private money is pretty similar, but the key distinction is that hard money is really an institution. It's not a bank, but it is a more formal institution that's taking other people's money. They're giving them a specified return. And so they've got, set criteria. They're the ones who are going to require a credit score, a certain amount of skin in the game. Some of them will fund you 100%, but there's other criteria they have. Private lenders are just people. They're just you. It's just me.
Right.
And now I'm a private lender. It's my 401k. Instead of buying mutual funds, I go out and talk to investors and talk about your deal. And I don't give a fig about your credit score. I'm not investing in you. I'm investing in the property. So if you are able to buy that property at a good enough value, and you're able to put a little bit of skin in the game, to me, that's all the protection I need. I lend to people with no credit checks. I do require money down. I'm not one of those lenders, but I'm more than happy to throw it in. In terms of rates, you're going to get private lenders. It's all over the place, right? So someone like me who has options, I can go and buy a piece of land and make 200% on my money versus lending it out to someone, I'm going to require 15-12% return. You might have private lenders in your family and they just don't know they're private lenders yet, right? People who have IRAs or an old 401k from another company that they haven't rolled over yet. You can go to those people and, if it's all about their options, if their only option is the stock market that's giving them 6, 7, 8%, they'll be happy to get 9% or 10% for you, to take their money and invest it in a property, flip it, and then give them back their return, right? Institutional lenders, they're much more closer to market price. So right now, we're recording this in May of 2021. It seems to be that, you can get experienced investors can get fix and flips loans for about 7%, 7.5%. If you're inexperienced, maybe it's your first to third deal, you're looking closer to 9.9%, but still, you're not holding that loan for 30 years. You're only going to hold it for a couple months.
Exactly. So, let's talk our views on that.
Yeah.
Person knows a traditional 15, 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
Do the private lender, someone like yourself, says, hey, I'm giving you 3 to 4, 6 months, a year, you refinance out, and then Like, what does that picture look like?
Yeah, usually when I'm working with private lenders, I like to go out 12 months with an option to extend for another 12 months.
Mm,
That's usually plenty of time to turn a property, definitely a flip. But for these larger multifamily projects where you might move out a tenant, fix up that one unit, move out another tenant, fix up
correct.
that other unit, it might take some time. That's why I like to get the option to extend for an extra year.
Mm,
Yeah.
gotcha. And it's so interesting. So when you say, and we're going to shift a little bit to
Yeah.
multifamily, and
Yeah.
and is it, we all know multifamily, 5 units or more, or do you just consider anything more than one unit, one tenant?
Anything more than one is multifamily.
Perfect.
It's fine to me.
Hey guys, thank you for watching our show. We're going to interrupt you real quickly. We are in the business of referrals. If you know someone looking to buy or sell, residential or commercial, here in the North Carolina area, refer us. We really appreciate that. So, in your portfolio, if you mind, the viewers asking, because people probably know about you. Right now, you're inspiring
Yeah.
some little girl look like you, or an adult to say, "Hey, I want to get what she's doing."
Yeah.
How many units do you have in your portfolio?
It's small. We only have 9 units, and we were
Okay.
both my husband and I were able to retire. Well, my husband retired off of those 9 units. And we actually stopped acquiring property because once we figured out how to cash flow vacant land without the tenants and the contractors and all those headaches, we just cash flow vacant land instead. And that's how I was able to retire.
Okay, hold on. We got to get a round of applause on that. Hold on. Let's see. You said you were able to retire after 9 years transition to vacant land, and you retired. Now you just focus strictly on real estate. See, right now you're inspiring somebody, right? You're inspiring me also. Multifamily.
Yeah.
Walk us into the keynote of the night, which I'm highly interested in, these land deals.
Yeah.
So what was the moment when you said contractors, tenants, vacant land, and I got this kind of success? Thank you. Walk us down that lane.
Yeah. So actually, multifamily is what drove us to vacant land.
Okay.
We were busy gobbling up anything we could find, rehabbing as fast as we could.
Okay.
But at some point, even with private money, capital becomes an issue.
Yes.
So when we ran out of money, we were like, all right, I guess you got to do this wholesaling thing. Everybody's wholesaling, so we got to do this. And so at our RIA, our Real Estate Investment Association, they invited a speaker to come in and talk about vacant land. And we weren't going to go because, talk about a snooze fest. But
you talking about what? I didn't hear that last part.
Vacant land. It was just it was so boring to me.
Boring, exactly. That's what I think what it is. I think it's boring to people. There's no extra to it. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. But so to that point, if you've read the Millionaire Next Door, so it's a lot of millionaires make money on really boring stuff. And I was like, whatever, I'll give this a shot. There were 3 things that really stood out to me. First, it was the fact that you could do it remotely. So unlike a house where you kind of have to go, you need to go and see exactly what you're dealing with so you can make proper estimates. When you get out of vacant land, like it's a tree. The same tree that was on Google Earth in 2020, it's probably still there.
Correct.
So I love that I could do it remotely. The second thing is he actually asked at the meeting, there were about 300 people, and he asked, who all is flipping land, or who all is flipping houses or renting houses or into multifamily, blah, blah, blah. And of course, like everybody's hand is in the air. And he's like, okay, put your hands down. He's like, how many of you are dealing in vacant land? And 3 hands went up. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, duh, that's how no one wants it, right? And he's like, that's your competition. And I was like, oh, okay. Because here's the other thing. My husband and I were both working full time with 2 small children. I'm never going to be the one to be able to pick up the phone. You tell me you've got a house and I can drop everything and go meet you. 5 wholesalers are going to get there before me. That's just, my life was not set up to do that. So I loved the fact that because there was so little competition, when somebody calls me, even today, if somebody calls me and they want to sell their land, I'm like, okay, I'll give you an offer on Friday. You can call me Saturday morning. I'm like, that's good. You'll have to wait until Friday. It's just a much slower pace
Okay.
because there's not a lot of competition. It's just a different market.
Okay. So is it, and again, yeah, I'm going to dive into a particular project you did, if you don't mind sharing.
Yes.
Does the land have to be perked, or you don't mind just putting up the trees on it?
Nah.
And do you have to, is a survey required prior to purchasing?
No.
So, but how do you, I guess after you do your title work, you see if they own the land or not? Like, Okay.
So it's just like a house. Like no one walks up to you and says, "Hello, sir, here is my deed."
Okay, exactly.
It's all through the title company.
Right.
They go back
Correct.
and they make sure everything is clean. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. But here's the thing, and it kind of ties into the comment I had earlier. The third piece is what kicked me off about vacant land. It's the whole reason we are in real estate was cash flow. We wanted to retire.
Exactly.
So what we did, not our first deal was a cash deal. I think this was maybe our third deal that we did. We bought the land for $15,000.
Okay.
And we didn't actually buy it, right? You get it under contract for $15,000.
Correct.
We ended up selling it for $60,000, but the person didn't have the 60 up front, which is cool.
Okay.
I was like, well, you give me 20% down, which happens to be 12 grand. And because it wasn't enough, I was like, you know what? I really need $15,000 down. Then I'll go ahead and finance the rest over 10 years at 12.9%. Happy as a clam. Their down payment was enough for me to buy the land. And for the next 10 years, I'm just collecting profit. Just checks on checks on checks.
Wow. And so, and you pretty much, the fact that you still own it, do you care what they do with the land?
Good question. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to do it. I live in Florida and it's challenging to foreclose here. So I prefer lease purchases. So I do own the land. And I allow them to lease it from me until they make their final payment. And at that point, I'll sign over the deed to them. In those situations, because I am the owner of the property, no, I do not allow them to build on the land. They cannot do anything. As an exception, I will allow them to clear the land and put on septic and well, and that's it.
That's it.
Yep, that's all they can do. And if you really are so gung-ho about building, cash me out. Go get a construction loan, get a HELOC. I will happily help you do that. But as long as you owe me payments, no, sir.
So, okay, so someone, again, I want to play devil's advocate here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a developer.
Yeah.
But like you said, cash me out. Why I want to purchase the land. Yeah. So why would I wait on year? I don't know how long your terms are. Why do I wait for year 5 to cash you out when maybe I'm answering my own question here.
No.
But I guess I'm thinking about if I want to get the property. You said they can't do anything but just do well and septic.
Yeah.
So if I want to build, I gotta say, here's the full balance.
Yep.
Okay, the light bulb's flicked on land.
Yeah, well, I want to carry on your thought because a lot of people have that question. Why on earth are people gonna buy land and not do anything with it?
Bingo. I think that's what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah.
For an extended period of time. Yeah. Yes.
Every single piece of land on the, not on the planet. I can definitely say every piece of land in the US is owned by someone who is not doing anything with it.
So true. So true.
So I don't need to know why. I just need to go out and find those people and buy it from them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, because you're educating me here. That's why.
That's the whole point.
And that's the great thing about it. That's why I definitely have to kind of stay in sync with you. So you said all of your deals, private lending, no money out of your pocket.
No, so that's always the goal. I mean, sometimes the deal doesn't quite work. Even that example I just gave, 20% down would have been 12 grand. If my buyer didn't have 15, if they had 12, then yeah, I'd have to come up with the 3,000. But the goal is to figure it out.
Okay. And do you invest throughout the country, or is it just
all over? Yeah, I primarily work in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee.
Oh, really? Okay, so you got some good stuff up here where I'm at, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay, gotcha. That's so all of the land, like you said, trees, it doesn't matter. They want to sell. You're saying here's a price.
Yeah, that's it.
Is there a certain bracket in terms of how many acres? Like 20 acres, only 2 acres, or you got a certain system you work off of?
Good question. And I get this question a lot, especially
Okay.
from new land flippers. I don't care if you are, selling me a little piece for a mobile home,
Okay.
or if you're selling me 17 acres for a development.
Okay.
I care about the profit. So
Mm.
as long as I have land that I know is sellable, I'll make an offer. Yeah.
Gotcha. And like you said, you're just making an offer.
Yeah.
Who knows? And again, it's up to them if they want to accept it or not.
Exactly.
Quick commercial break. If you're interested in a career in real estate or you're a seasoned vet, and you might want to change, new environment, you don't like the atmosphere you're in, the Headley Group Realty could be there to assist you with your career. What do we offer? Great culture, great environment, leads, and an awesome commission structure. Let us be there to support your business. One thing, you got to be in the state of North Carolina. Let's get back to the show.
So now, is it only land, or did you give up the whole flipping thing, wholesale? I mean, is it only?
Yeah, we don't do houses. I will lend on house projects, but it has to be something that really aligns with my goals. I'm very passionate about affordable housing.
Okay.
And I will lend on those projects, even though that's not really my area of expertise.
Okay.
I prefer to lend on vacant land projects. So going back to the question you had earlier, if there's an investor who has vacant land, they're going to sell it and they're going to be short. They're taking payments, right? But they're going to be short the down payment, $5,000, $10,000. They just can't make it work. I'm more than happy to step in and be the lender on that deal, or I'll actually buy the land from them myself, and then I'll step in as the land owner who will collect the payments.
And the whole goal as you being the investor is the long game. 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 years. You need the monthly payments to come back to you with that interest.
Yes. I love it when my money comes back with friends.
Oh man, isn't real estate so powerful? I mean, I
love it.
I get people asking me, hey, I want to invest in real estate. I'm saying, well, that's a tall order. Which part?
Exactly. There's
Commercial,
money in
single
every
family,
single corner.
multifamily, now
Yes.
land, which I had very little knowledge of. Speaking of that, and I'm quite sure maybe you might get a question or DM from an audience member. Courses. Somebody want to know what's in your brain.
Yeah.
How do they get that?
Yeah. You can connect with me. My info is in the show notes. But you can find me at flippingwithoutrehab.com. And then all of my handles are all flipping without rehab. TikTok is probably the best way to find me.
Gotcha. Okay, because we'll have all that in the shows. I just thought that, I don't know if you had a course.
Not my own. I am more than happy to give credit where credit's due. So you can go to Jack Bosch and Michelle Bosch with the Land Profit Generator. Amazing couple with an amazing story. Yeah, that's for them.
See, I'm gonna give you kudos for that, because and again, we keep it real on our show.
Yeah,
a lot of people out here take other people's credit and say, "Hey, I did it." Whereas they took their whole template and made it their own and said, "Hey, it's me. Hey, you need to pay me $2.99 a month."
Exactly.
That's awesome to you. And maybe that's why you're so blessed where you're at now, because of your honesty and authenticity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The and I want to segue in terms of it seemed like you're let's say you got a master's degree. It seemed like, do you emphasize strong on education, networking? Do you believe in a mentor?
Absolutely. So the education side, my views have changed on that.
For the schooling, traditional schooling?
Traditional schooling.
Oh,
Look,
yes.
I will say this. As long as there's an end in mind, go for it. If you want to stake your spot in corporate America, you want to be the next CEO of Exxon, go out, get that MBA, do what you got to do and climb up the ladder. It's great.
Right.
If you don't know what you want, like me, $60,000 is a large price to pay to not really know where I'm going.
Exactly.
But if you are going to invest that kind of money and you do have some direction, invest in courses in your field, invest in mentors in your field. And not everything is free. So I know people struggle with that. I struggled with it in the beginning. but my tiny little investment in land information paid itself 10 times on my very first deal. I made $13,000 in 3 weeks on my very first deal.
Okay, hold. We got to interject on that. We got enough. Hold up. We got it. Hold up. We're going to highlight this with our show. You made what again? Say that again for our audience. Speak up a little on that one.
Yeah, it was $13,000 on my first deal. Yeah.
First deal. Look at that. Doing land investing. Again, somebody will reach out to you on that one. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, carry on what you're saying about
that was my thought. So in terms of formal education, as long as you have a goal in mind, great. But don't be afraid to drop some money on specific knowledge with people who are actually making money in the field. And make sure you have proof that they're making money. I mean, the first time I paid someone to teach me about real estate, I think I paid her $500 and later found out she hadn't done any deals.
But some though, Nancy, I think that I was a kind of, victim of that as well as, I brought this course and it really was nothing. But I think that was part of my education journey. I think that, I try to look at things from an optimistic standpoint. Okay, well, what did I learn? So I know not to do next time and what to do moving forward. So that's and not to carry, but the traditional school thing, I think, particularly 18, 19, 20, I think we just look at the fun part of it. Like when we go into college, filling out different applications, but we don't really say to ourselves, let me pour back into me directly. Like I shouldn't have to worry about some of the basic courses that has no direct impact on me and my future. But I just think that with traditional school, I think they're realizing that a lot of people are being awoke and realizing that we should pour it back into ourselves versus getting in debt 60, 70, 80, 90,000, and I could put that back into me and get a much better return. So
exactly.
I applaud you on that. Well, Ms. Jantzen Young, we kind of wrapping things up. Here's what I'm asking you here. Is there a question you wish I would have asked you that you would like to answer? I catch everybody off guard with that.
I know, that's a hard one.
But is this a good one though? Just in case
No, I don't. Maybe about my husband. That would have been.
I don't know why I didn't. What's the brother? What's his name?
Yeah, Steven Young.
Steven. Okay, so clearly you mentioned him that he was able to retire.
Yeah.
What is that? Partner in crime, thick and thin in the trenches. What's his role?
So my husband is like 100% Mr. Dad. He is like the neighborhood dad.
Okay.
Like in all of his Facebook posts, he's just sitting in the garage with all these kids that are not ours, just hating.
Got you.
But it's been a really cool dynamic. Even when I was in corporate, I was always, just climbing, but I was the go-getter, volunteering for every committee and on every board. And especially I just retired in April. So I was in the thick of it through Black Lives Matter and sitting on a bunch of different councils to help our corporate partners understand what the Black experience is like in a corporate setting. And the reason I love that. I love us.
Oh, go ahead.
I could spend much more time on
me too,
on
exactly.
That,
I just love them time. But go ahead. And I'm unapologetic about it as well. But go ahead.
Exactly. So the reason I was able to be so successful in that arena and why it took me so long to leave corporate is because they actually did treat me quite nice. But
correct. Okay.
The reason I was able to give so much of myself there and to excel so well is because my husband had this house on lock. Like when I woke up, these kids are dressed, fed, ready to go. When I come home, not a light switch is never broken. A light bulb is never out. Like I got to give props to my baby, my boo. He holds it down and I really appreciate him for that.
Kudos to Steven. Let's put up.
Yes.
That's right. Kudos, brother. Because we usually don't, and I don't want to dive too much into it, but you usually don't have that dynamic. You know how it is. But when we do have it, we need to celebrate it. But
exactly.
Thank that brother for that.
And you can bring so much more to a family.
Yes.
Other than, and now granted, he does do a lot of work in the business too. Okay. But I want to make sure it's clear, guys. You can bring a lot to the family. It's not just about the money. That's such a small part of what makes this family tick. And I do celebrate my stay-at-home wives. I celebrate my stay-at-home husbands. Like y'all are really the bedrock of this economy. So thank you all.
And you know, speaking of that, I just think that you just talked about the Black Lives Movement, and I just think we're getting awoke now. You know, in
Yeah.
terms of we know we can do it. Like we can do it. We can do the same thing.
Yes.
I'm big on that. You know, because you know, whereas though I'm the broker owner of my company here, and I said, I mean, they, you know, they can do. I can do the same thing. Like I said a minute ago, but unapologetic about it. And I salute you, sister, for making you doing what you got to do. Two golden nuggets. We ask every guest on our show: scripture, poem, a book, a quote, anything. Let our audience have it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know you got a lot. I could tell.
I know depending on the day and the situation, I got plenty.
Correct.
You know, the one thing that keeps coming back to me is like, if you say you can, if you say you can't, you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So why on earth would you spoil it? Just speak life and it will happen.
I like that. I like that. And you know, I actually had a conversation with one of my agents, and we talked about that, the power of, again, we all know who you be around. That energy.
Oh yeah.
That energy got to be right. Right. If I'm climbing up, you got to have that battery in my back, just like I'm gonna do you. So I salute doing that as well.
And just to piggyback off of that, I was in a meeting about 2 years ago now with COVID. But there was a guy who had come to learn about land flipping, and he was like, oh, well, none of my family knows I'm here. And, you know, I don't want to ruffle any feathers or like tell them things, you know, whatever. And I was like, why on earth would you dim your light for somebody else? I was like, number one, you could inspire someone that you don't even know. So shout it from the rooftops. And secondly, if they don't want to hear it, those people who are not ready to follow you and support you and hold you up, they will leave on their own.
Exactly.
So if you want to change your circle, keep talking about who you are, not who you were. Keep talking about where you're going, not where you were or where you've been. And then the people that are headed in that same direction will be attracted to you. They will support you 100%. You don't have to say goodbye to your friends. They will leave on their own.
Wow. See, well, we got to get a round of applause on that right there. It's powerful. Well, Frank, you got a podcast?
No, I don't. I just
do you have one?
No.
You need to have one, sister. I mean, I'll be honest with you, because like I said, is that I'm inspired by talking to you, and I think a lot of people, particularly beautiful Black girls and boys, would love to probably hear you. You know, you got a good innocence about you, and a sense of motivation. So I think if I had to say anything encouraging, you need to get your podcast. Yes, I'll tune in and be on your show. For real, exactly. But one thing I will say is that you are an alumni to the show, and I want to thank you for being on the show.
Yes,
and we want to thank Jantzen Young again. She's a private lender as well as a land flipper. And she's done some wonderful things, like I said, in our community, as well as she invests throughout the country. So look out for her. We want to thank her for being on the Headley Real Estate Show. We'll see you next time.